Okay, today we're going to look at how to multiply and divide polynomials. We looked at how to add and subtract them last time, and when you're also multiplying, but it's like you're distributing a monomial. We looked at all that last time. So now we're going to look at how to, if you have to multiply a binomial times a binomial, or a trinomial times a binomial, we're going to look at the process for doing that. Okay, so notice here, what we're starting out with is we have a binomial, because we have two terms, times a binomial, two terms. Notice there's not a plus sign in between these, there's not a minus sign, so this means that we're multiplying. Okay, the process that we're going to use here is FOIL. So F-O-I-L. Okay, and what this is going to stand for is the first, the outside, the inside, and the last. I'll show you all another process here in a little bit, but for right now, this is the process that we're going to use. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first. That means the first term in each group. Okay, so that would be 2x times 3x. Okay, so remember when you multiply the coefficients, okay, and you add exponents. So that's x to the 1 and x to the 1, so that gives me 6x squared. Okay, now we're going to do the outside. Okay, so that's like the outside, the bread of a sandwich. So that's 2x times negative 5. So that's minus 10x. Okay, now I'm going to do the inside. It's like the meat of the sandwich, which is 1 times 3x, which is 3x. And then I'm going to do the last. That's the last thing in each group. So that's 1 times the negative 5, which is minus 5. Don't forget on these that we are multiplying and not adding them. Okay, now we have it to where we can combine like terms, and most of the time your like terms will be right here in the middle. Okay, so I have 6x squared. I have negative 10x plus 3x, and negative 10 plus 3 is a negative 7x, and then I still have that minus 5 at the end. And that's our answer. We can't combine anything else because we don't have any other like terms. So that's your final answer. Okay, number 2, I'm going to do the first. So that's 8x times the negative 2x. That's a negative 16x squared. I'm going to do the outside, which is 8x times 6. So that's 48x. I'm going to do the inside, which is negative 1 times the negative 2x, which is plus 2x. And then I'm going to do the last, which is negative 1 times 6, which is minus 6. My like terms, again, are right there in the middle. So I have negative 16x squared plus 50x minus 6. And that is our answer. Okay, so that's when we multiply a binomial times a binomial. What we're going to look at now is when it gets a little more complicated. We have a trinomial times a binomial. So you cannot use FOIL because you don't have 4 different things to do. We're actually going to have 6 things to do. Okay, so what we just did on FOIL was we took each term. So let's say on this first one, we took that 2x and we distributed it to both terms in the second group. Then we took the 1 and we distributed it to both terms in the second group. So that's what we need to do here. Okay, so I'm going to start with this x squared. I'm going to distribute it to the 4x. So x squared times 4x is 4x cubed. Then I'm going to distribute it to the 1. So x squared times 1 is x squared. Okay, now I'm going to move to that next term. I have 2x. I need to multiply that times 4x. So that's an 8x squared. Now what I like to do instead of writing it in one big long line, if I have like terms, I want to go ahead and line those up. So if I have 8x squared, I'm going to line that up underneath this other x squared. It's going to make it easy to combine. Then I also have 2x times 1, so I just have plus 2x. Okay, then I have this last term, so I have negative 3 times 4x, which is a minus 12x. So I'm going to line that up under my other x. And then I have negative 3 times 1, which is minus 3. Okay, so here we go. That's the only x cubed we have. So we have 4x cubed. I have an x squared, so 1x squared plus 8x squared is 9x squared. I have 2x minus 12x, so that's minus 10x, and then I have that minus 3 at the end. We don't have any other like terms, so that is our answer. Okay, number 4. Notice again we have a binomial times a binomial, so we can just use FOIL here. Or you can think about it as double distributing. You're just taking each term and you're distributing it twice. Okay, so I'm going to do the first. 2x squared times 3x. That's going to get me 6x cubed. I have 2x squared times 1. So that's just 2x squared. I have negative 3 times 3x, which is minus 9x. And I have negative 3 times 1, which is minus 3. Okay, let's see if we have any like terms, and it doesn't look like we do. So that is our answer. Okay, I want y'all to try these two. I'll give you a little bit of time to work them, and then I will put the answer up for you. So take a little bit of time and work these two out. Okay, here we go. On this first one, when you distribute, you should get 6x squared minus 2x plus 15x minus 5. So when you combine those two middle terms, you get 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. Okay, so there's the first one. The second one, you get 4x squared plus 3x plus 28x plus 21. Okay, when you combine these two terms in the middle, you get 4x squared plus 31x plus 21. There we go. Okay, we're going to just skip these two. Just notice that D is a binomial times a trinomial, so just make sure that you'll know how to do those. This is just showing the 3 different methods that you could use. I don't really love the box method. You'll actually do something similar to that in biology. But I'm not going to go over it here because we just need to know how to do this without the box. Okay, you don't want to have 50 boxes on your paper when you're working through these. Double distribution, this is what I was talking about. This is the same as FOIL. It's just FOIL, you have a certain process. Double distributing is you're taking that first term and you're distributing it twice. And then you're taking that second term and you're distributing it twice. You would get the same thing that if you just used FOIL. Okay, I don't know why I like to do FOIL because it gives me a process to do and I don't forget to do one of the certain distributions. So I like FOIL because it gives me a step-by-step thing to do. Okay, now I want you all to look at these 3 different expressions here. And I want you to see if you can tell the difference between these 3 because on this next test, there's a problem on there that if you're not careful, you will do way more work than you need to do. Okay, so just look at these 3 real quick. See if you recognize anything. on A, we're adding. We're not going to do any distributing here. All we are going to be doing is adding like terms. Okay, so we would do 4x cubed plus x cubed. Okay, and then we would do x squared plus a negative 3x squared. Okay, and we would work it that way. There's nothing to distribute here because we're not doing any multiplying. Okay, now on B, we have this minus in between, so we're subtracting these. Now last time I talked to you about that you probably want to distribute that minus and then combine like terms, or else you're going to forget to subtract something. So, but you are not doing any distributing there. On C, this is where we would have to do some serious distributing because we are multiplying. So you would have to take this x squared and distribute it everywhere. Then you would have to take this negative 3x and distribute it everywhere. And then you would have to take the negative 1 and distribute it everywhere. So we would have 9 different terms that we would have to combine. We're not going to work through that, but I just wanted y'all to see the difference. Okay, let's look at this. The dimensions of a rectangle. Okay, so we have a rectangle. The dimensions of this rectangle are x plus 4 and x plus 5. Write an expression that represents the area of the rectangle. Okay, so let's think about how we get area. Area is length times width. Okay, so let's take the length. So let's say x plus 5 and then times x plus 4. And this just says to write an expression, so we can just leave it at that. If it wanted us to work it out, then we would now FOIL, but that's the expression. Okay, let's look at this one. You're making a walkway around part of your swimming pool. The dimensions of the swimming pool and walkway are shown in the diagram. Write a polynomial that represents the area of the swimming pool. Okay, so here we go. So we have a walkway around the swimming pool. And notice that the walkway, the width is just x for that walkway. And then the dimensions of the whole pool and the walkway are 18 by 25. Write a polynomial that represents the area of just the swimming pool. Okay, that doesn't mean that we want all of it. We want just the pool. So we have to look at the length of this pool. Okay, now the whole thing is 25. And this little piece right here is x. So this would be 25 minus x. And then the width would be 18 minus x. Okay, so we want to write a polynomial that represents the area. That's length times width. So that's 18 minus x times 25 minus x. Okay, we could distribute that, double distribute, or do FOIL, but it just wanted us to write this like this, so we can just leave it that way. The second part, what is the area of the swimming pool if the walkway is 2 feet wide? Okay, so I'm just going to take 2 and plug that in for these x's. So I have 18 minus 2 times 25 minus 2. So that's 16 times 23, which is 368, in this case, feet squared. All right, I'm going to read this one and then I want y'all to write the expression. The dimensions of a rectangle are x plus 3 and x plus 11. Write an expression that represents the area of the rectangle. Okay, so I want y'all to go ahead and write what this expression would look like for the area. Okay, we understand what we're doing. We should already have this answer. So length times width, so x plus 11 times x plus 3. Now sometimes you will be asked to FOIL that out, but for right now we're just going to set it up. Okay, so notice how these are different. These are special products. It's when you're squaring a binomial. So we need to think about what square means. Square means we're multiplying something by itself. Here's what you cannot do. You cannot take this 2 and distribute it inside. You can't do that. okay, because there's a plus sign separating those. So please do not try to do that. Okay, think about what that squared means. It's something times itself. So that means that's going to be 4x plus 3 times itself. Not times 2, but times itself. So 4x plus 3 times 4x plus 3. Okay? And now we need to work that out. We need to FOIL this. So 4x times 4x. So that's 16x squared. The outside is 4x times 3. So that's 12x. The inside is 3 times 4x, which is another 12x. And then I have 3 times 3, which is 9. We have these like terms in the middle. So I have 16x squared plus 12x plus 12x is 24x, and then plus 9. There's our answer. Okay, we're not going to work through this next one, but let's get it set up. So again, you cannot take that 2 and distribute it. You have to write this out as 3x minus 5y times 3x minus 5y. There is a shortcut down here, but please do not worry about the shortcut. It's just a little too confusing. I want you to write it out this way, and then I want you to FOIL it. There are no shortcuts to doing this problem, so do not think you can do it in your head. I can't do it in my head. Okay, so please make sure you write that out and that you FOIL it. Okay, we're not going to go through that process right now. Okay, let's look at this. So again, we just have a binomial times a binomial. It's just the answers here come out to look a little bit different. Okay, so I have n times n, so that's n squared. N times negative 3, so that's minus 3n. 3 times n, so that's plus 3n. And then 3 times negative 3. Please do not subtract those. Remember that we are still multiplying. So that's a negative 9. Okay, we need to combine our like terms, but look at what we have in the middle. Negative 3 plus 3, that cancels out. So we have n squared minus 9. Okay, we're not going to work through b, but it's the same idea. It's going to come out looking something like that. Okay, let's talk about dividing. Okay, now this whole top part, this whole numerator is all being divided by 5, which means I need to divide everything by 5. Okay, so I'm going to do 5x squared divided by 5. All right, so that gets me just x squared. Now I'm going to do 10x divided by 5, which gets me 2x. And then I'm going to do a negative 25 divided by 5, which gets me minus 5. Make sure you don't have any like terms, and if you don't, that's your answer. Okay, but notice how number 2 is different. Okay, because now we have variables on the bottom. Okay, think about what you do when you're dividing. What do you do with exponents? You subtract them. Okay, so keep that in mind. So we will do first 12 divided by 8. Well, 12 divided by 8 is going to be, what is that, 3 over 2. So I have 3 over 2. These x's are going to cancel out. And then I have y squared and a y. So 2 minus 1, that leaves me with a y. So I have 3y over 2. Now I'm going to look at the second group. So I have 24 divided by 8. So that's 3. Okay, I have an x squared and an x. I know I marked that out before, but I need that back for the second part. So I have x squared and x. That leaves me with 1x. And then my y's are going to cancel out. So our answer here is 3 over 2y plus 3x. Okay, sometimes your answers may look a little funny, just like this last one. We had a fraction that made it look a little funny. So let's look at this. Okay, so again, I've got to divide both of these. So I have 9x divided by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. I still have that x. And then I have 3 divided by 3. Don't forget, that's not 3 minus 3. That's 3 divided by 3, which is still going to be 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. There we go, 3x plus 1. All right, over here I've got 6x squared divided by x. So that leaves me with 6x. Okay, and then I have 9 divided by x. Well, there's not really anything I can do with that, so I just have to write it as 9 over x. Okay, the area of a rectangle is 8a to the 5th, b to the 7th, plus 2a cubed, b to the 9th. If the length is 2a squared, b to the 5th, what is the width? All right, so here it's giving us the area, which is the whole. Remember, if you're trying to find out one of the parts, you do the whole and you divide it by the part, or the parts that you have. So we need to do the area divided by the length here. Okay, so I have 8a to the 5th, b to the 7th, plus 2a cubed, b to the 9th, divided by 2a squared, b to the 5th. Okay, don't try to do this in your head before you write it all out, because these get a little complicated. All right, so here we go. I've got 8 divided by 2, so that's 4. My a's, I have 5 minus 2, so that's a to the 3rd. My b, 7 minus 5, that leaves me with b squared. Okay, now I'm going to do the second part. Okay, 2 divided by 2, that's 1. I still have that plus sign in between, so make sure you put plus 1. So let's say plus 1, and then a to the 3rd and a squared, that leaves me with a. And then b to the 9th and b to the 5th, that leaves me with b to the 4th. So technically now, since I have the a, b to the 4th, I don't really need the 1. But I actually kind of want y'all to write that, because that's going to help us out in the next unit if you can remember to write that 1. It's not wrong if you don't. It's definitely right if you don't have the 1, but it's going to help you out later on. All right, we are almost done. I want you all to do number 1 and number 4 here. Number 1 and number 4, and then we'll be done. All right, so here we go. On number 1, you should have 6x squared plus 10x minus 12x minus 20. When you combine those, you have 6x squared minus 2x minus 20. So that's your final answer there. And then number 4, 2y squared over y. That's going to leave me with 2y. And then 4 divided by y, I just have to leave that as 4 over y. And there's my answer there. Okay, make sure you understand this. If you don't understand it, work with somebody on your homework. And then you will have a quiz next time over everything that we've done this unit. You will have your end of unit quiz.